Hey now, how is everybody doing? Welcome to Red Alert Diaries live with Tanya E. I'm glad I get the chance to see you again. And if you listen to this morning's episode, you know we're going to have a conversation about dating because dating after divorce often sucks. There is pee in the dating pool, but it doesn't have to be that way because often we end up in that space and place because of trust issues that we've developed, financial concerns, time constraints, legal measures, emotional baggage, social stigmas. There is so much that happens to a divorcee, but we don't always have to walk through that experience. There are ways that you can have better life experiences in dating. In this morning's episode, I shared my personal experience about the chaotic dating moments. Yeah, because there were plenty of those. Because often your friends loving you, caring for you, trying for you, they introduce you to some people that they think will help springboard you out of your moment, often quicker than your personal timeline wants to move, but you do it because one, you're glad they're still looking out for you. You know you want to do something other than moping around the house and crying over the past moments and feeling the anxious loss and loneliness, all of it. So you go out on these dates that you know before you even get there, they're going to be disasters. You sit through it, you muddle through it, you do the niceties to hold whatever you believe is supposed to be the etiquette for your divorce dating moment. Don't keep walking through that. There are ways that you can do things a whole lot better. And in this morning's episode, I shared my experience with Eric because I decided to change how I was dealing with the dating situation because I did not want to have to keep walking through those horrible experiences. So I met the love of my life, had an amazing dating experience, and we have now been married, y'all, for 13 years. So there is life after divorce. There is a way to go through amazing moments. Your divorce dating does not have to keep being the chaotic situation that society often puts us in or makes us deal with. In this extended conversation, I'm going to share with you some of the tips that help me get through and deal with some of the mess and heal my heart along the way to have an amazing relationship. Now, the first thing that often we have to deal with as divorcees, because 60% of us are walking through this experience, trust issues. It is hard to decide to open your heart back up again to someone after the one that you gave all that you had to give, broke it, shattered it, depleted, all of what you thought you were given, only to end up still single again, but on this end, a lot worse than most of our experiences. Because in aftermath of my divorce, I lost me. I've shared on numerous occasions that we often walk through an identity crisis when we're dealing with some of the divorce concerns. 55% divorcees walk through the chaos of self-identity. And so we lose our confidence. And in losing our confidence, we lose our trust. And losing our trust, it tumbles down into so many other areas that impact how we deal with new relationships, how we just show up in the dating experience. So I want to help you get your mojo back. One of the first things that can support you with your trust issues is just start off with friends. When you build relationships with people on a friendship level, you don't put so much pressure on yourself about what are you going to wear, where are you going to go, what will you eat. What would you do with your friends? How would you hang out with your friends? What experiences would you have with them? And if you were just going to have friends meet up and they were bringing new people, wherever that meetup space is, you're okay with that. And if new people show up there, you're okay with that. Why? Because you're not putting extra pressure on yourself. So start off with a friendship mindset. That friendship mindset gives you a beginning foundation to lay the trust that a new relationship needs. You see, I shared in this morning's episode that when Eric and I first began, I was not looking to date because I had already decided at that point I was not dating ever again. If I was just going to be single for the rest of my life at that point, yeah, I'd have gone through enough chaos to decide that I was done. But he was just friendly. It was a business environment that we were working through, and it was just friends talking. hanging out. It was no intimate anything. None of that happened. So don't complicate this. Just start off on a friendship level. And if you really want to know more about how Eric and I walked through that beginning friendship phase, I shared that in this morning's episode. Go back and listen there. But one of the other things that we find ourselves, especially if you have children, because 40% single parents have difficulty balancing being a parent and dating because we have these things that we're doing with our kids. Your commitment is to your babies. And if you have your children going through the chaos of divorce, the last thing that you want to do is add on extras with a new relationship. Don't complicate it. I shared that when I was going through my dating phase, I didn't introduce my kids to any potential dates. They didn't even know those people existed. For the times that my children were on their visit with their dad, or if a friend decided to give me a break, that's when I went out. That's when I hung out. That's when I scheduled those times. And the person that you're going to date, you don't have to initially reveal that you have children. But before your heart gets too deep, before you start walking into the element where you start feeling the butterflies and getting the googly eyes and start getting all of the, what I call the first level of relationship. When you're there, you can decide when you choose to reveal. But if you're going to start tumbling into level two, oh, it's time to start having a conversation about kids. You see, in the beginning, when Eric and I were dating, it wasn't about any conversations with my children. It was about business because that's the setting that I met him in. I did not have to figure out how to fit him into my world because he was already in an environment that I was already in. So the dating, that part wasn't, none of those things. Didn't have to try to figure out where, what, or when. I wasn't dating. So all we did was meet at work. In that environment, as we became more friends and casual conversation brought up the conversation about me having children. Discussion points, because life and interaction, it will happen on a normal basis. But if it doesn't happen, you wait until you get to level two of your relationship to decide to start having a conversation about your children and do it early because you want to know how this person truly feels about children. Because he was no longer in little people land. His child was older, but I still had little people in my world. If you have young children, you got to decide early if the person that you're dating wants to walk through that experience. Because if they don't, then you're clear early that this is not someone that you need to have a relationship with. So, with those of us that were in that phase when I was walking through my singleness, the 40% that are trying to figure out this journey in balancing parenting and dating, don't complicate it. Wait until you decide that you actually want that person in your world because the time constraints that you are dealing with, it is already hard enough trying to find the time that you need to balance what your children are doing, balance what you're doing at work, because some of us had to deal with the financial concerns that being single again brought us. Because being in the divorce state, your financial situation, and you're still going through some legal elements with alimony or child support or whatever that financial constraint is. And if you're in between where you are not quite yet have the finalized divorce decree, but you are not with each other in that separated phase, and the finances are funny because they're definitely no longer doing, if that's your experience, because that was part of mine. You're struggling to figure out what the finances look like in this time. I don't have the money to date. And men, this conversation is something that I want you to be mindful of. It's not just about women. Because when I share my experiences, it's the human construct for divorcees. Male and female go through financial woes. And if men are dating, there is still a social stigma that gives the thought process that you have to pay for everything. And if you choose to make the statement that maybe we should go Dutch, or maybe we should find a way of dating in an environment that doesn't cost so much, it makes you, to some, make it seem like you're cheap. You will be a horrible person to date because if you don't want to come out of your pocket now, but you just met them. It is okay to say early on in a dating experience, let's just go hang out and see what experiences you enjoy and what experience I enjoy. And something simple that doesn't cost a whole lot, like Applebee's or because I'm on the East Coast, y'all. So these restaurants, I think, are universal to the US. But if they aren't, pick some environment that doesn't cost much more than 20 or 30 bucks to have a meal. That way, you're not coming out of pocket real deep. It's casual environment. Make it a lunch date, not a dinner date for your first few dates. And I share that because if you are going on a lunch date, there's less pressure to try to do something different or finagle things or have conversations different. Lunch dates make it easy to just be casual in discussion. Lunch dates make it easy to build that friendship foundation. Lunch dates make it easy on your pockets as well. And you don't have to go through a whole conversation about should we do Dutch or what's the price point for this. Everybody is aware pretty much what the price point looks at TGI Fridays or Applebee's or a restaurant like that. So choose that as an easy space and place to support you. That way, there's no major conversation about finances that have to come up because if your money is funny, like mine was in the beginning, and when I had one of those dates that I went on where the guy, and this part cracked me up because it was not an expensive spot. I intentionally chose a place like Applebee's during a lunch date to not make it hard on him and not make it hard on me because I didn't have a whole lot of money I was working with. You can be creative if it's real, real tight. After the first couple of dates, if you like this individual and you feel like you want to go on, you can let some of those other dates be activity dates. There are Groupon events. Now, you don't have to let her know that you had a Groupon. You can pick a Groupon site, groupon.com. I use a lot of Groupons just to hang out in friend environments. You save on the money, you get new experiences, and there's a group of people that's already going to be there. So there's no pressure with you just being there face to face with someone else. And here's another thing that helps you if you're willing. Go on a walk. Have a conversation around a theme park or different events happen around different cities where you can just walk and sort of do a semi-tour of your city. When you're walking side by side, it takes less pressure because you're not face to face with one another. That gives you an opportunity. And also, the conversation flows a little easier. You're not face to face with a person. So if there's a pause while you're walking, you think nothing of it. But if there's a pause while you're staring face to face across one another, looking at each other's eyes while you have dinner, there's often a little more pressure. Eliminate some of this. Let it be easy on you. And here's one last thing I want to share before I start wrapping up. Because for some of us, about 50% of divorcees, we're walking through past hurts and unresolved issues. In that space, it's hard. It's hard to try to decide that I even want to get out and do this thing called dating again with anybody because of the hurt and the pain. I want you to know that the emotional baggage is real. And some of us are carrying pocket purse and some of us are lugging a couple of bags. I saw something recently on Instagram with a clip of this lady carrying her extra baggage. She had like 4 or 5 bags that she was lugging into her relationship, struggling. If you're still fresh in your hurt, you do not have to subject yourself to a dating experience. But if you want to just get out among people, go to a cafe, go to different events where people are. It's not a dating environment that you have to be in. While you work through your emotional woes, you don't have to sit in the middle of the loneliness. But one of the things that I often teach, share, and show is how to rediscover who you are at the core of your being. Because there are strengths that you bring to the table. There's an insight that you still have. And even though the chaos from your divorce may make you feel like you no longer possess it, I need you to know that you're stronger than you think. You're more powerful than you know. And you still have a strength inside of your soul that will carry you through to your next place of healing. You don't have to walk through it by yourself. If you want to, you can reach out to me on my website, tanyaehood.com. If you click under the Work With Me tab, there's a couple of different ways that we can walk through an experience together because I've walked this journey already. You don't have to walk it alone. And so for today, if anything that I've shared has resonated with you or you thought of somebody along the way, like, share, and comment below. I would love to see the comments and extend the conversation. In the meantime, this is Tanya E. Hood, walking in my purpose, and I want you to do the same.